folks, and welcome to my super short POV walks, all about framing and elevation today. Hey folks, so this is a bit of a newer series on POV walks where I aim to do something quite a bit shorter than I normally do, but a little bit more instructional. So I'm hoping that people get a bit better value out of this. So please do discuss in the comments, because this is something where I'm kind of breaking from the norm, as it were, with what I normally do, and trying to focus in on sort of different techniques that I like to try. So there's far fewer shots you're going to get on this walk, but I'll try and talk about them in sort of greater detail than I have done. Also, we've taken them on the new Lumix S5 full frame camera, so it's a tryout for that. So everything today has been a bit of an experiment, so I really would like you to let me know some feedback on this and all the other videos that I've been posting, because I want to do more adventure videos as well, but I won't be abandoning street photography. So, so there you go. See what you think of this one, and well, let's get started. Hey folks, so you're probably expecting to see me going around doing some POV photography, but unfortunately I had the action cam set to time lapse by mistake. I think it was because I used my phone to level the action cam and accidentally knocked the time-lapse mode. Didn't realise it was on, so the footage is, well, no audio, next to useless. So I'm going to talk you through the pictures I took. So you're probably seeing by the intro that this POV walk was going to be a little bit different anyway, so there will be obviously these in the future, they'll have POV material in them. So I've got my laptop down here, so I'm going to sort of refer to that for the images, because I've never done, I like to do live narration. I'm not a fan of doing after the fact narration. I'm not the best at it, so I shall do my best. So the first picture we're going to look at, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you roughly the area we took the photograph in monochrome. So the monochrome images are to illustrate where the picture was, the area the picture was taken in, why we took it there, and then I'll show you some of the pictures that I've captured there. So the idea of these little shows, as I said before, is to focus in on a smaller number of images that I talk about in more detail. So the first image up is we're on top of we're on an overpass. There's a lot of these where I live, and the idea was to use elevation to capture interesting angles on people, to use a combination of the height that I have and the light at the time of day it was, which is early evening, to frame the image. So with the cyclist, we've got them just transitioning up the ramp. We've got them in the light with some nice light catching them to give them a nice bit of contrast in the image. And I've used the sort of the railings of them coming across to frame them in that picture. Moving on to the next image, and again I've used the same area again. Again, this time it's the up ramp coming up towards me, and this time, instead of using the light, what I found was that I had a shadow from a tree casting on the wall that I was looking down from, but because the angle I was at, the man coming up the ramp looking down at his phone was in the light. So I was able to have the really strong contrast of the tree behind, the sort of the dark shadow of the tree, and then the man standing out, and then again I could use my elevation to get the angle on it, because I was above the person walking up the ramp. Basically, this area that I was sitting in is made up of multiple overpasses and one single underpass. So moving along, showing you the next bit of where I moved to, it narrows down, and there's some trees towards the end. Unfortunately, I haven't got a picture of that. But what I did see is I saw some people walking along past the ramp and then going under the second underpass. And then when they were just about to disappear under the third underpass, there was some foliage, and you'll see that again from a very steep angle of probably about 60 or 70 degrees, almost above them. I've captured them from that angle, and I've framed them with the pavement and the edge of the overpass and some of the leaves, to try and get again a different perspective. So I hope this gives you an idea that you don't have to tackle people straight on. You can use your height advantage to get to different angles, to get different perspectives. If perspective is the perfect word, on people, and one you couldn't normally get. I suppose all my mountaineering has taught me about perspective. So moving on, while I was moving around, I caught this. Again, this is not perspective. This is just noticing things and then moving into position ready to capture somebody as they walk past. So moving on from height, we're moving back to the idea of noticing what's going on around you. And what I'll do is I'll show you a shot just for reference. And there's a old lady in a yellow dress with a mobility aid, an orange, I think it's a red mobility aid. And I noticed her walking along as I was taking one of the other pictures. And I thought, well, where's she going to go? And I saw her take the ramp. So I moved right back to where I'd just taken that picture of the two people from above that we've just talked about. And I scuttled round. You would have seen all of this if we'd had the POV working, but I scuttled round right to the side of the overpass and worked out that she was going to walk along a path under these trees, and that she was going to have some lovely dappled light on her. And that our yellows of our dress would go nicely with the yellow dappled light falling on her through all the sort of greeny yellow foliage. And just to capture she was totally unaware I was there, so I got a very natural reportage look and expression on her face as she walked past. And again, that's another way if you've been quite stealthy, a little bit shy of going up to people, that you can capture people that way. But it's all about observing ahead, working out where you're going to take the picture from, moving to that position and waiting for the person to move into the frame that you've created for them. And she was spot on in the middle. And this reason, I actually used a centralized composition because of everything around her seemed to work that way. Sometimes I would crop in. In this case, I quite like the way the compositions worked. Now moving on, I left this location and I almost didn't stop here, and I saw this sign that said no cycles, no bicycles. Again, I'll show you the monochrome image to give you a feeling of the area I was photographing. I only took one picture here, and this was a picture of just some people passing so I could have some people in the picture, but you'll notice that there's a bike in the picture as well, and a bike park. And what I wanted to capture was the idea that we have a sign saying no bicycles, but conversely, in the same image, we have bicycles and a bicycle park. So they're at odds with each other. The people were more just there because it's nice to have some people in the frame as well. It would be lovely if I had a cyclist going past, but I could have waited a long time for that to happen. But sometimes patience pays off. When you find these situations, you need to sometimes wait a long time. In the context of doing a video or illustrating something, I can't always do that. But I would recommend that if you do find something like that and you find it interesting, spend 10-15 minutes there to see who comes past into your frame. You might be very surprised that you can actually then totally change the composition and also tell a story, which is the important thing about it. That's the story of the picture. The story of the picture is that the sign was at odds with the bicycle in the background. And quite ironically, if you went round the other side of that very same sign, was a sign saying cycle track and bicycles allowed. Having said that, because they were opposite, I couldn't really illustrate that in a picture. I could have in the video, but the video isn't there, of course, because I messed up the video. So this is why I'm trying to narrate this all in one setting. So again, you'll have to let me know what you think of me doing things in this way, because this way of doing things has happened completely by accident. I'm going to have to edit all this together tonight and see what we can come up with. Anyway, moving on, I walked down from there back to the main road on the theme of cyclists, and I spotted some cyclists coming up the main road next to the cinema. So I've got another bit of a play on words here. I have a view of the cyclists. It's a view cinema. I was viewing the cyclist, another bit of a play on words, maybe just the way my head works, I don't know. But you'll see that I've got two cyclists here coming past the view cinema, and I'm just viewing them. I noticed there was a patch of bright light I could catch them in, and it was quite a snap reaction shot. Wasn't much time to do it, and it came out really well. And I think we're really starting to see the benefits of a full frame camera, because I love my Fuji cameras and I'm not going to stop shooting with Fuji X100V, but full frame, the amount of detail you can pull back in the shadows is incredible. Full frame sensors really can pull back stunning amounts of detail from the shadows that I couldn't do with my Fuji. My Fuji cameras are better with highlights, but they're not as good with the shadows. Their shadows is probably the weakness of a Fuji camera in the experience I've got. But I really like the way these compositions come out. We've got that arrow in the opposite direction, pointing the opposite way at the cyclists. We've got the view we're looking at the cyclists, and we've got the word view in there. And it was very much a super fast reaction to it. Now moving on to the final shot, I went further back to where I normally go on my walks, and there's another underpass that I got a lovely sunset picture at a while ago that I wasn't doing in a POV vlog, I was just doing some random street photography. That's my cat destroying my chair. Oi! Stop it! She's got a scratch post over there, but she decides to kill my chair instead. Hello! Have you come to see everyone? I hope the animal detector on the camera doesn't pick her up. That wouldn't be good. That's my cat Rosie. You don't get to see these things normally, folks. So moving on to the last image, I've kind of got two compositions for this. I saw some lovely contrasty light under the tunnel, and again we're talking about framing it with light and shadow and the tunnel. So we're not using elevation this time, we're using light and contrast and shadow to frame people. So I was hoping, I didn't catch the person quite as I wanted to. I would have liked to have had a bit more illumination on her face, but I don't think the angle of the lighting was going to allow that, and you can't always get it perfect, so that's where post-processing comes a little bit. But I think we've captured a lovely image of her just transitioning into the light, taking her dogs for a walk, and again she didn't realise I was there, because I was sort of lining up the shot 2 or 3 minutes before she was there, so I'd noticed she was coming down. I was waiting, and I looked like I was, you've got to be quite sneaky, I looked like I was taking some pictures of the shadows, and I was just composing, and I sort of beckoned her through as if I was taking a picture of something else, and I'm like, oh yeah, come through, and you take the picture. And sometimes to get that natural look, you can't let the person know you're taking a picture. Conversely, I do want to do some street photography in the future where I do interact with the people and I do talk with them, I do ask them if I can take their picture. It's an area where as a photographer I need to grow. I'm quite an introverted person, so talking to people is quite tough. So this has kind of turned into an impromptu tutorial. Anyway, I'm going to cut back to me outside now because that's all the pictures done. So let's go back in time and it's me outside. So folks, thank you for watching. I hope you liked this new idea of doing a couple of really short but more instructional POV vlogs with just fewer shots and just several minutes long rather than the really long ones. If you did get value from the video, please remember to like the video, remember to subscribe to the channel for updates, and do click the bell for notifications. And thank you again for watching. Your support is always appreciated. I'll see you all later. Goodbye.